And I was like, who's giving this up? There's a sheet of report going around. So,
I don't want to see about it. I'll talk about it.
if you would all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the sea symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Next, our land acknowledgement written by our very own Vice Chair Tweety Suazo and Leah Aki-Bakowitz. We recognize that Sandoval County is located on the ancestral land of indigenous peoples. We acknowledge and honor our land caretakers and commit to retain and advocate for the traditions and cultural knowledge indigenous people have practiced since time immemorial. Welcome to the Democratic Party of Sandoval County's second Saturday event. My name is Alex Pyland, and I am the chair of the Democratic Party of Sandoval County. We have Vice Chair Isaac Chavez. Hey, yay, Isaac. And we have members of our executive committee. If you are on the executive committee, please raise your hand and wave. Hey, thank you so much. We're gonna. So anyway, we are meeting in person at Matucci's Moderno on Wellspring and Rio Rancho across the street from Rust Hospital. Please make sure to come to Matucci's during the week. They have great stuff. Don't forget to get takeout, call it in. And we are happy and grateful for the meeting place and especially the staff. So please be sure to show them your appreciation. Be sure to sign in. We're collecting data on attendees, so it's helpful to know who's attending, where, when, and for whom. We're trying to figure out if our attendance is stable, it's increasing for certain speakers, decreasing for others. Today's an anomaly because right now there is a women's march going on in Tigway Park in Albuquerque, and many of our people are at the march. So we hope they use sunscreen, are safe. Let's see, please look for envelopes on the table. We're in the process of raising funds to help pay for the costs of the lawsuit against Sandoval County. So if you would like to see your donations go to the lawsuit, please indicate that on the envelope. If you are just being generous with the party, we really appreciate your support. We'll put it to good use, I promise. We will have our guest speaker first today, and she'll be followed by candidates and important announcements. So please don't leave early after the Secretary of State, Maggie Toulouse Oliver, speaks. She's on her way. She's on her way. I swear to you, she's coming. Right? I've been in contact with her campaign manager, Dylan MacArthur, and he's like, she's on her way. She has multiple events today, as do many of our candidates, and so we appreciate her squeezing us in whenever she can. I want to give you guys a heads up, speaking of the County Commission, I'm just going to read this to you guys. On Tuesday, May 24th, the radical Republicans who control the Sandoval County Commission will conduct a working session to discuss the disproven claims that the 2020 election was fraudulent.
Come on.
Right? Yes. They're wasting your money, Dave. That's taxpayer money. Okay. The fact that even the Republicans' own so-called election investigations have shown no fraud have not satisfied the right-wing radicals from continuing their fanciful pursuit of imaginary election fraud. Fanciful, I like it. And now the radical Republicans on the Sandoval County Commission are going to bring this circus to town.
When?
May 24th. And what do they want to do? They want to restrict voting rights. It's that simple. They want to make it harder for working people to vote. They want to make it harder for seniors and disabled persons to vote. They want to make it harder for students and Native Americans to vote. And we, as common sense citizens, must stand up and let people know that we will not let our democracy be trampled by conspiracy theorists and others who want to tear down the republic. Please attend this meeting on May 24th, which will be from 1 to 3 p.m. at the County Commission Chamber in the Administration Building on Adalia Road, off of 528. We need to stand up to these purveyors of misinformation and protect our right to vote. So it's at 1 o'clock, 1 to 3. Yes.
Just real quick. I would really like it if there was some of us that could go and let the ringleader know, Mr. Jay Block, that his own election actually happened in 2020. So, what does he say?
When is it?
It's the 24th from 1 to 3.
Are you going to put that online anywhere?
We will be putting it online eventually, sometime within the next day or two.
Okay.
And so we want the commissioners, all the commissioners, to go on the record and say whether they believe the 2020 election was fraudulent or not.
Yeah.
Right? We just so happen to have one right here, Commissioner Book.
Well, it's, I'm sure.
I'm wearing heels today, otherwise you'd be good.
Okay. This has been so frustrating. It's been several months of each county commission meeting, and I am so grateful for Ann Brady Romero and her deputy, Joey Dominguez, being in the room with us. Because it is also clear that this is not about the election being fraudulent. As our chairwoman has just told us, it is about keeping people from going to vote. As simple as that. Because it is clear from every person who's spoken at those meetings that what they would like to see is no drop boxes, no mail-in ballots, single day elections on voter election day only, so no early voting, proof of citizen or voter ID, so they want to make sure that you present something. They would prefer that no ballot is actually tabulated, even though we in the state of New Mexico have paper ballots. As far as they are concerned, it would be better if we hand counted every one of the ballots. Can you imagine when we might get the election results? Especially Christmas, on an election day. It's insane, right?
So are they willing to bill?
No, and in fact, at every meeting, they are asked if they would like to volunteer or work the elections because we need both parties represented and it's the right thing for us to have them there. They just keep falling off the planet. They really don't want to be part of the process. And they want to argue that the process is broken when clearly all the evidence is that we did not have any violation, literally no voter fraud in the entire country. And in fact, the ones that have been identified, guess who they were? Go figure. Actual clerks in Colorado, mind you. That's the last thing that we want to actually have to deal with, is that kind of insanity. But the fraud that did occur was clearly on that side of the aisle. So,
May 24th.
May 24th, please come. I don't want to be in that room by myself.
Well, are they going to stack the room so we can't even get in?
Where is it at?
It'll be in the commission chambers.
1500 Dahlia.
1500 Dahlia.
So it's actually, that piece of property belongs to the town of Bernalillo. So it is Bernalillo address, but it's off of Idalia and Track 28 in Rio Rancho.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, hi Carl. You guys see it. So, keep an eye out. We're going to put stuff out on social media, and we'll probably be sending out an email on MailChimp. Okay? So keep an eye out for that. Next up, hi. Good to see you. Next up is Linda Gallegos. Linda is the candidate who's going to go first because she's got the competing event. Remember how I mentioned all that? So Linda's going to talk to you. And Linda, thank you for the candy. Thank you. Actually, originally I didn't have time to bake anything, which was the plan. And I said, I'm going to stop at Sam's Club this morning and pick up something so you guys can remember Linda is being sweet. But then, and this is a true story, one of the first ones I took out to write my name on it was empty. So I thought, this is what I want you to remember, that it's an empty promise, right? And what I want you to correlate this to is that I'm your current assessor. I've been there for almost 4 years. And it hasn't been an empty promise. I promised to show up and do the job. That's what I've done. I've been in the office. I promised to work with the budget. We were able to get 2 new positions because of some budget changes that we made. And the commissioner working with us, thank you so much, Commissioner Brown. And so that's what I've been. But I really wanted to take, the reason I really took the time to come out today, honestly, because I'm very fortunate not to have somebody in the primary. I have no Democratic opposition in the primary. So again, I'm out there, but really what I'm doing is trying to support the fellow Democrats that are out there running. And one of the people who I really admire has been my mentor, has been Laura Montoya. And I understand and I appreciate that somebody's going to speak on her behalf, but I did want to take the rest of my time to say that I know personally firsthand, because I've had the privilege of working for her. She hired me at the county to be her deputy treasurer. And I had the opportunity to work with her for years. And I know this is somebody who's worked hard for our county and for our state. And there's negative things being said by other Democrats, by her opposition. So that's what I really wanted to come and speak about. And I know personally, like I said, who knows better than somebody who's there at 10 o'clock at night with her or later on some of those commission meetings that we had. But again, this is somebody who's done a lot for our county and our state, and I think that she's the right candidate. So please, I ask that you, of course, vote for me, please, also for County Assessor Linda Gallegos. And it makes me sad that I can't stay and eat with us, because I just met Chris, a fellow Italian gal, Italian-Irish, and some fellow New Yorkers, and one of my favorite things to do is sit around and eat Italian food with friends. But today I can't. But I will see you guys next month, and I hope that you will support Laura as our state treasurer, and of course Linda Gallegos, please, as your assessor. Thanks so much. She is sweet, isn't she? Okay, so I kind of fibbed and I said it would be just one candidate, but there's another one who told me that he's got another event he's got to get to. So we're going to let Ramon Montaño, HD23 candidate, he's going to be my House rep, speak to everybody. Ramon, come on up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a great chair. She works so hard for us. We appreciate you. I also want to recognize, we have a celebrity in the room. Let's say hi to Senator Dennis Chavez back there. Former senator here. He's contributed quite a bit to the city, and we don't forget the work you've done, Senator. So it's good to see you. I've been thinking about you, so I'm glad you're here today. I'll go by and see you in a minute. Well, I'm Ramon Montaño. I'm running for House of Representatives in District 23. And I'm going to be very real with you. As I'm going door to door talking to our voters, there's a lot of disenfranchised people who aren't sure they want to vote, both Republican and Democrat. We talk about elections that were rigged. We talked about all these other nonsense things, but I'm going to be real with you. They're dealing with inflation, having a hard time with rent going up because of the inflation, people taking advantage of that opportunity.
It's greed. It's
greed. But these are our families who are struggling to pay their bills, help keep their kids going to school with the supplies they need. It is very scary to see some of these people really freaking out on how they're going to make it at the end of the day. So these are the things that really matter to them, is our economy, what we're doing, keeping our community safe. As you know, the crime in Albuquerque is out of control, and it's called what it is. A lot of our tax money, whether you live in Albuquerque or not, goes there to help fund that problem. And I think we got to keep our money locally to support, to keep that type of crime out of our community. So my platform is very simple. I'm pro-law enforcement. We need to continue to support our public safety officers within our community, our first responders, to ensure that we have the quality of life we have. When you pick up the phone and you call 911, they show up. And we're blessed to have that here in Rio Rancho. Because in Albuquerque, they're not so fortunate. They can call and call and call and not get anybody there. That's reality, guys. To continue to have the quality of life we have in this community and surrounding this area, we got to continue to support them. Public education is another key area that we need to continue to support. That's what I'm looking at. I have some information here about what I'm looking at. You can go to my website, I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to look at that. If you have any ideas or suggestions, my personal cell phone number has always been available. As past president of Mexico School Boards, my number was always available. I'm not one of these politicians, elected officials who hold office, who win and never talk to my constituencies, whether you live here or you don't. So please reach out to me and provide any assistance, constructive criticism, whatever it is that can help strengthen our campaign. Because literally, it's a little bit more on the right side, my district, a little heavier side on the Republican side. But we're having some great conversations when I'm going door to door. And believe it or not, guys, the bumper sticker slogans, it's great for CNN, it's great for Fox News. And it does drum up some support from either side, I get that. But at the end of the day, there's more that brings us together than divides us if we just take that time to communicate with one another. So I just look forward to anybody wanting to have, we're going to have a few events coming up. We'll post that and get that out as well. And if anybody cares to contribute to our campaign, we'll be glad to take your donations and your support. So thank you.
Yes, Ramon Montaño, House District 23, two-time president of New Mexico School Boards, was a member of the Rio Rancho Public School Board, and my neighbor. I was driving down Green Lake the other day and I saw one of his signs and I went, oh my God, that's nice. I should have one of those.
We'll get it, just
They're really pretty. They have chilies on them, you know. So, yeah. In fact, it's similar to his flyer. So, let me tell you, next up, someone who really needs no introduction to this group, especially at this point, but I want to tell you, our Secretary of State, Maggie Toulouse Oliver, is a national leader in addressing the challenges facing voting, not just in New Mexico, but in the region and in the country. Okay? She is noted for making New Mexico a leading example in assuring voting access and reliability. So I want you all to give a round of applause and a warm welcome to our Secretary of State, Maggie Toulouse Oliver.
Well, let's see. Okay, perfect. Hi, Sandoval Dems. How's it going? Good. Hello to our amazing county clerk. We're so lucky to have her here and her team. These are crazy times. For those of you who aren't aware, half of the state is on fire. So we've been working really hard, including with Ann and her team, to make sure, basically the last 2 weeks I've been completely consumed, maybe that's not the best word, but with trying to help facilitate voting for voters in Mora County, San Miguel. Los Alamos is looking very, very iffy right now. Parts of Sandoval we know, maybe potentially Santa Fe. So I just feel like it's important to acknowledge our first responders that are out there battling the fires. We haven't had anything this bad. Yeah, yes, I agree. And I'm over here like, do I ever get to run a normal election? 2 years ago, we were trying to run a primary during COVID, so where nobody could leave their house. And now we're trying to run an election where so many voters in the state are not at home. And so we're working really hard to figure that out. And if you follow us, my office, on social media, and if you check our website, we're kind of continually rolling out plans to help address. And I just bring that up at the top because I know I'm getting a lot of questions about that. How are we going to help those folks vote? And we're working on some exciting plans. Exciting in terms of election administration because I'm a nerd. But one thing I'm really excited about, we don't have this all, the I's dotted and the T's crossed yet, but I talked to the U.S. Postal Service, the regional office, and they're willing to make special trips to and from the evacuation centers to deliver and pick up ballots. So yeah, so hopefully that's going to happen. It's crazy times. And as you all know, this is just crazy times in elections and in politics. And every day I feel like I get up and I read my, million different news articles. And, what's really, really at the top of my mind right now is that, unfortunately, on a daily basis, it feels like we are still being re-traumatized by the Trump administration, even though he's no longer in office, because guess what? Newsflash, he lost, legally lost the election. It was not rigged. Yeah, I tell me about it. Tell me about it. And he, right now here in New Mexico, I don't think we're enough of a swing state for him and his, he still has just a huge political operation to get involved, but my colleagues around the country, many of us, most of us are up for re-election this year. There's a few secretaries that got elected in the presidential years, but most of us are up for re-election. And, some of my colleagues who demonstrated the most integrity and really had to stand up not only to the president at that time, but to, waves and just kind of continual constant waves of harassment, threats of violence. My colleague Jocelyn Benson in Michigan, for example, still has to basically have a 24/7 protection detail around her at all times. My colleague Katie Hobbs in Arizona, my Republican colleagues like Brad Raffensperger in Georgia and Barbara Sagaski in Nevada have been dealing with so much. And so, this year, and I think I said this the last time I came and spoke to you all, except it was on Friday at the range, on a Friday at the range, I should say, not this last Friday, is that democracy is on the ballot this year. This is probably, I remember when I first started running for Secretary of State, way back in 2014, and I used to have to just make call after call after call and beg and grovel and scrape for every dime I could raise, because people would ask me, well, why, it's like a down ballot race, so why is this race so important? And I would have to spend so much time articulating, well, the potential for this job, is pretty massive depending on what happens in an election. And if you don't invest in this race, then everything else we care about and want to make sure folks get to the polls to be able to express their voice about is on the line. This year, I will tell you, and I'm not bragging, but it's a silver lining, let me say, of just the terrible situation that we're in, that I ask for some money, and not only do people say yes, but they're like, how about if I give you twice as much as you're asking me for? Because people understand. I know you all understand. And you all have always understood the criticality of my job and Ann's job, because Sandoval County has always been incredibly supportive of me and my endeavors and my races, and I know you all, this is a county in particular where having good election administration is so crucial. I know you all are aware that the complete nut jobs that did the so-called audit in Otero County have been, trying to get your county commission. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for pushing back. To do another one of these, crazy vigilante audits. So what I think is really important to articulate when folks say, but audits are a good thing. In fact, I think it was just 2 days ago, Rebecca Dow, all of our favorite governor candidate, tweeted, something about, in New Mexico, we need to, people are too afraid to upset the apple cart. We need audits. We need elections with integrity. We need to clean the voting rolls. And I'm like, you mean all the things we already do here in New Mexico and have done for a really long time? Those things? Maybe you need to go back to, legislator school and learn what we actually do here. I know a lot of folks in this room were involved even back in 2004 when President, not HW, but W, got reelected. And in that election, that's an election where it really hurt, but he won that election fair and square, right? The Supreme Court didn't have to intervene on that one. And, but there were questions about voting machines and whether or not they counted correctly in places like Ohio. right? And so we, on the Democratic side of the aisle, started getting very concerned about how our votes were being counted. And there were a lot of the so-called black box voting machines out there across the country, including here, well, I don't know about here in Sandoval, but I know in Bernalillo County at the time, this is right before I became county clerk, we had those, they're called DREs, direct recording devices, that your vote went in and there was no tangible record for how that vote was counted. You just had to trust that the tabulator counted it right. And so we collectively across the country, and especially here in New Mexico, decided our response to those concerns was not to continue to allege that the election was fraudulent. It was not to continue to say, John Kerry won, and George W. Bush, initiated a coup. We said, okay, how can we do this better so that we can all have trust in the election results? So first thing we did, state legislature said every single election in New Mexico is going to be conducted by paper ballot. Yes, we're always going to have a paper record, number one. Because if there's ever a question, we can go back to that paper record. And a lot of people thought, well, why are we moving backwards? We're in the 20th century, or we're in the 21st century now. We shouldn't be moving back to put paper. That's so old-fashioned. But the thing is, paper is the gold standard, and we always have that record. And then it wasn't just good enough to have the record. We had to have accountability built in, so we knew what to do with it. Okay, great, we have a paper record, but how can we use that paper record to ensure we have accurate elections? Well, we started doing mandatory post-election audits. So since 2008, every general election, we automatically spot check the accuracy of those tabulator results. And we do it in a very scientific way. It's set forth in statute, so there's never a question about whether we're going to have it, how the precincts to be audited are going to be selected, right? We're not making it up on the fly and bringing in people who claim to be auditors or have election experience but really have no idea how elections are run. And we do it, and every time we've done one since 2008, guess what? It has shown that our machines are counting correctly. But, the worry is always, well, could something nefarious happen? Could a hacker come in and get on the Wi-Fi in the polling place or something and, get into the machine and change the results? Well, that's what the audits were, and if we ever did find a disconnect between the results and the paper, then guess what? We count more. And we keep counting until we have a full recount if necessary. We also have automatic recounts. For pretty much every race in New Mexico, if there is such a slim margin that, it could go either way, we just automatically recount it. Automatic, period, end of story. And so what's really frustrating to me right now is we have all of these great things in place, but these are not sexy things. When we were putting these new, and frankly, we are the first state in the country that started doing post-election audits the way we do. It's called risk-based. Colorado likes to brag that they were the first ones to do it, and I'm like, no. We were the first ones to do it. We were ahead of the curve. Like, we've been on so many things in election administration and integrity in our state. But that wasn't sexy, so the news didn't widely cover it. They weren't like, hey, really boring, nerdy stuff is happening in elections. You really need to know about this. So here, fast forward to 2022, and these folks that are just still, they cannot get over the fact that the worst president in our nation's history lost. Yes. And he lost fair and square.
Yes.
It's like, did you ever have like a really bad breakup in high school and you were really sad about it for a long time and you really held a grudge? I mean, that's what it's like. It's like, get over it. Get over it. Find someone new. But they are just so attached to that guy. So they're coming in now, and all these folks that are claiming to be election experts, the analogy I use is, let's say we find out that we have something really wrong with our health and we need to have surgery. And we have two choices about how we want to get that done. We can either go to a board-certified doctor who's been doing that kind of surgery for years and years and has a good reputation, or we can pick Joe down the street who watched a bunch of YouTube videos and now knows how to do surgery. And this is their approach to auditing. quote unquote auditing. So I say all of this because I truly believe that here in New Mexico, well, I know for a fact that here in New Mexico that more people trust the outcome of the 2020 election. I know that there is still this loud vocal minority that can't let it go. And they are venue shopping. They are trying to go around to other counties. For those of you who didn't see, the group that is here harassing poor Kathy and her colleagues to get, and oh my God, Ann, this is not gonna happen, I promise. They didn't even find any evidence of fraud in the Otero County audit, which, shocker. I mean, a county the president won, or the former president, won by a wide margin. Oh, okay, so we have to keep pushing back, and I think the way we push back on this is that we just constantly remind folks, we already do that here, and the way we do it is really good. We are a model for the country. We have a gold standard here in New Mexico. Heck, we can expand it. We can do more. One of the things we were trying to get passed in the legislature this year, we had, the last time I came to talk to you, we were just starting to roll out the voting rights bill. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but we had another bill that was really just a technical bill, and it actually had really strong bipartisan support, because one of the things it had in it, one of the reasons Republicans really liked it, is because it actually called for more robust auditing. The way our current system works is it's random. So depending on how wide the outcome of a variety of races is, you then select a certain number of precincts randomly, and we hire an auditor, a CPA, to come in and conduct a random selection. It's totally independent. They basically, for lack of a better term, draw numbers out of a hat, and then those are the precincts that get audited. And so a county like Bernalillo, because they have 600 some odd precincts, is always going to get, just the odds are you're always going to get some precincts selected there. Some of our smaller counties don't, because we have counties in the state that only have like a handful of precincts. So part of what we're trying to do in the SB 6, which was the technical bill, was say, you know what, we're going to do the random selection, and then just for poops and giggles, we're going to pick at random at least one precinct in every county. So every county has done some auditing. That's great. We should do that. It's hard work. It's a lot more work for our county clerks, but all the county clerks were like, yeah, I'd like to be able to show that we did that here in our county too. It didn't pass for a lot of really backed out political reasons. This session, I won't go into it in painful detail, but it was a really hard session. The legislators are real grouchy. They're tired. COVID, it took a toll on all of us. It took a toll on our mental health. If you're a legislator in the state of New Mexico right now, I hope you're seeing a therapist. I know I am, because they came together and they were just at each other's throats from the word go, and they had so much business to take care of. By the way, this whole 30-day, 60-day session, that made sense back in like the farming times in 1912 when people had to drive their horse and buggy up to Santa Fe. But come on, we're a modern state. We need a professional legislature that meets more often than 30 or 60 days every other year. And the governor, it's like, I have so much empathy. First of all, her job, that's the hardest job. I think we all can see and acknowledge, the sort of damned if she did and damned if she didn't decisions that she has had to make, especially over the last couple of years. No good deed goes unpunished, and you can't make people happy, and, but she's, said this is what we're going to do. So I respect that. But it's like political dynamite for her to call a special session. People freak out, including the legislators, if you deign to say they should come together and meet and do some more business other than during the 30 and 60. That's just crazy. So I have a lot of hope not only for our technical bill next year, but also for a lot of, maybe not the Voting Rights Act package as it looked like this year, but the truth is we need to continue moving forward in New Mexico with expanding, and this is what I've been talking a lot about lately. Folks on the other side, will make it seem like you have two choices and you can't have both. You can have either access to the ballot box or election integrity. And that's a false choice. That is a totally false choice. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We are big boys and girls here in New Mexico. And frankly, we have a lot of smart people here. And really, our election administrators are amazing. So there are still some things that are left undone. We need to make it so that folks who are out of jail can vote and don't have to continue to be, disenfranchised and tell them that they are not, citizens like the rest of us. And in fact, the thing that really pushed me over the edge on this issue was when it occurred to me that folks who are on probation and parole, as the law currently states, you can't vote. A lot of times, the whole reason they haven't completed the term of their sentence is because they still have outstanding fines and fees to pay. And if that's not a poll tax, I don't know what is. That you have to pay money to get your right to vote back. So I really strongly believe we're going to get that done next year. I strongly believe we're going to create a permanent absentee or vote by mail list. So if you always want to get your ballot in the mail, you don't have to send in a form every single gosh darn time. It's common sense. And our Native people and you folks in Sandoval understand this as well or better than anyone because there are so many tribes here in Sandoval County. They have the right to vote, and there are some things that are codified that guarantee that they can have those in-person voting services, but due to the rural nature of where a lot of them live, and due to frankly, I think they're paternalistic requirements in the election code that say, well, if the tribe doesn't get a request in by this date under a former governor, then next year because tribal governors change pretty much every year. Well, sometimes they get reelected, but it's every year, right? That they can't get what they need, and then if something like a pandemic happens and they have to close down their tribal areas, they can't have a polling place at all because the state law says they have to let everybody in to come vote if someone wants to on their tribal lands, right? So we need to get those protections codified as well, all in one place. What part of SB 8 was the Native American Voting Rights Act. So it is a total separate section of statute that just addresses those issues. So there's some unfinished business. There were some controversial topics. 16-year-olds voting in local elections, election day is a holiday, whether or not we should just automatically register folks to vote when they go to MVD rather than asking them if they want to. I think these are still concepts that deserve to be fully discussed and vetted. And so my hope is over the summer, what we can do is have those conversations with legislative interim committees so we can kind of vet those out a little bit more and let more folks have a say on whether or not those are good policies for New Mexico. So by the time we get to next January, we are coming into the session with consensus and agreement, and of course not everybody likes letting people vote because how dare we, but I think the majority of us do is the good news, and so I think we'll get there. A couple other things I just want to hit on, and then I know you all probably have questions. So I know this group in particular is extremely active, and I know that many of you are looking for ways to get involved in the election process, and I know the party, I'm sorry, maybe not Alex, but the party, Big P party, is always trying to encourage folks to be poll watchers. And that is an important function. In fact, when I was county clerk, sometimes it was the poll watchers that knew we were having a problem at a polling place and were able to call me before a poll worker could, right? So that's an important role. But, one thing, and again, this goes back to this, all of these crazy allegations about election integrity. If you really care about the integrity of our elections, work the polls. Be a poll worker. And I want to ask this group, thank you. If you're not on the ballot and you're not directly related to someone on the ballot, I encourage you to reach out to Ann and see if you can help work and we are at a time where people just don't really want to do that job, and it's hard. It's a long day, right? And it's hard. And but if we are going to continue to have a citizen-run democracy, which is what it is, because it's citizen volunteers that run elections on election day, then we need to keep bringing people into the fold. And I challenge our Republican counterparts to do the same. So rather than standing on the outside, rather than harassing poll workers and voters as we're trying to get an election done, rather than making crazy baseless accusations after the fact and doing all of these other things, get your hands dirty. Get into the polling place and help run the election and learn about the many, how many of you have worked the polls before, by the way? Yeah. So there's a lot, right? And the reason there's a lot is because we're trying to protect the integrity of the election process. We're making sure that those machines can't get hacked, and we're making sure that ballot boxes can't get stuffed. We're making sure the election is run fairly, and that's why it's a bipartisan process. So that's my big challenge, not only to us as Democrats, but to our Republican counterparts, our independent, our libertarian counterparts. Get into the polling place and actually help us run the election. Put your money where your mouth is. So if you're talking to a neighbor or maybe crazy Uncle Joe or somebody that is going on and on about how our elections don't have integrity, challenge them to go work the polls, to call up their county clerk and volunteer and be a part of the process, not taking cheap shots from the peanut gallery. So, and if you want to be a poll watcher for the party, that's great too. We need it all. But, the number one thing is we need folks at the polls to help us run the election. So, is there anything else you wanted me to make sure I covered, Alex?
I think that's beautiful. And we actually had Madam Clerk and Mr. Deputy Clerk come and speak to us at First Friday.
Awesome.
And ask the poll workers. So
we're on the same wavelength then.
yes, we are.
Yes, ma'am.
I was a poll watcher of the last big election, and I found that the clerks right down here at the Sandoval County Courthouse on Alphadelia, the clerks don't know a lot of the rules, and I was taught that I couldn't teach them. And when I would speak to the main judge, he let me know that he resented me being there. And
Sure.
And he wouldn't, when I go to him with anything, he was not going to do anything.
Well,
It was hard.
I get that, and I don't want to speak for our county clerk, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say if you're seeing something that doesn't look right, it doesn't pass the smell test, and you can't get that, that interaction that you're needing, call her. And then that's her job, right? And she'll go, okay, we're calling the PJ, that's what we call presiding judges, we're calling the PJ, we're telling them, you're doing it wrong, you gotta fix this.
I mean, I was constantly calling the red line, and the lawyers were giving me information. And we had somebody, I think the Stokes were helping us with this, and I was constantly letting them know that I didn't let the former clerk, I didn't know to do that.
But yeah, and again, I mean, I would say it's to each clerk's preference, how they want to handle that kind of information. But as long as it can get to her in whatever way is the most streamlined. I was a person who the Democratic Party had me on speed dial. So if they got a report from a poll watcher, you call the red line, they would call me directly and we would deal with it. So however Ann wants to deal with it. And I don't know, do you have a preference, Ann?
Actually, we just installed Madison.
Oh yeah.
So we'll be able to address those issues as they come up. But it is your presiding judge that you would report the incident to, and then they will contact us. I'm sorry, I wasn't part of that.
I know.
So, and also our training has gone from 30 minutes to probably a 3-hour session.
Oh, thank gosh.
And we do train people extensively in every area, ADA, emergency.
The clerks?
The clerks. And we're giving more money for that. So.
Yay for excellent excellent work and poll training in your office.
I want to add, 4 years ago, there was a hotline for us to call, and we will make sure that we have that posted for everybody. We're not so worried about the primary. It's in
This was
November.
in November. And the hotline was great. They always got back to me with answers, but by that time, the person had already, that was,
Madam Secretary, you missed the announcement that we're going to be turning out on May 24th at the Sandoval County Commission because they are going to be requesting commissioners to go on the record on how if there was a fraudulent election. So we're going to turn out for that one.
When you go to give your public testimony, one word, no. No, there wasn't.
Yes.
Thank you. Next.
Any more questions? Any more questions?
I understand well in Bernalillo County, 16-year-olds can be poll workers. They're paid $100 and some for the day. And I would love to see, I'm sure that's statewide,
Yes.
right? I would love to see that actually promoted because the kids don't know about it.
Right.
And the teachers don't know about it. So it would be great if we had some way to recruit kids to do that because we need young people working in the polls.
We do.
In the party.
We do, and the things that are great about that program are that number one, they get pre-registered to vote, even if they're not old enough to vote yet, so they'll automatically be on the books the day they turn 18. I was told by my poll workers when I was in Bernalillo County that they, let's be honest, the poll worker cohort in general, the average age is getting up there. And that's because your generation, to a certain extent, my generation, we were sort of raised with a civic duty, right, mantra. And, as I said before, the challenge is if we want to continue a citizen-run democracy, we have to bring young people into the process so that by the time, everyone else ages out, we have trained, experienced poll workers to continue the process. It is a great program, and I'm sure Anne would, and she can speak for herself, but I'm sure she would appreciate everyone in this room helping get the word out that 16 and 17-year-olds can do that. And I know my older poll workers in Bernalillo County loved having the younger people there because they were like, okay, this is great. I can run the polling place, and I can be in charge of making sure all the things happen. The kids can just do the computer stuff like that, and they loved it. And my own son, before he was voting age, worked the polls at a school election. It's so funny, I'm there on election night, making sure all the results get in and stuff before I get home. I get home and the kid is literally face planted on the couch from how long a day it was, but he loved it. So yeah, I agree with you. We need to continue getting the word out about it. Send your 16-year-olds in today. Yes, sir.
Could you speak to independents being able to vote?
Oh yeah.
Please.
Yeah, so, it's not, let me put it this way, it's not a perfect, so you all know that I have long been a fan of allowing everyone to participate in a primary election. And, I used to be on the side of, it's a party election, I'm a member of I've chosen to be a member of the Democratic Party, we get to choose our nominees. And then I started learning about, the fact that there are places in this state that the whole election is the primary election, right? Because we have some places that are so conservative that no Democrat runs. We have places that are so Democratic that no Republican runs. And often that primary election is the election. And so we are excluding folks from that process. So as you all will recall, your former senator, why am I forgetting his first name? Sapien. John Sapien. Wow, what a name to forget. Like the most common name. John Sapien got a little, and he kind of did it as a, let's say a parting gift, a parting shot, if you will, when he was leaving the legislature, but it's actually great. So now what we have is same, as you all, I hope know, we have same-day voter registration in New Mexico. So during this entire early voting period, you can same-day register and vote. If you're not registered, if you need to update, what have you, at the clerk's office. And then on election day, every polling place. And so what this allows our independents and minor party folks to do is, instead of showing up to vote thinking they can and getting turned away, they can choose to register right then and there with the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, or the Libertarian Party. Those are our three major parties, as you know. They can do that registration, get a ballot, vote, and they can either choose to stay registered with the major party, or they can just go right back home, get on mmvote.org, and change right back. So this is, I hope, going to encourage more participation in the primary. As you all know, but I'm going to say it again just because it bears saying as much as we can, voting begets voting. The more participation we get in the primary, the more participation we're going to get in the general. The more times somebody votes, the more likely they are to continue to vote, right? And it's even, in many cases, it's that very first voting experience that somebody ever has. If it's a positive one, they are likely to become a lifetime voter. And if it's a negative one, they're likely to never go back to the polls again. So in our democracy, we want all of that participation. We want everybody to have their voice heard. And so if we can encourage, if you all have friends that are independent, decline to state, maybe Green Party, one of the other little minor parties, they can do this. And let's encourage them to do it because we need all of it. Yes, ma'am.
I have two questions. One is, will there be any other questions on the ballot on the general, besides early childhood education?
Do we? Yeah, so we do have early childhood education, yeah, but I'm not aware of any other ones.
For the general, for November. Oh, November. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think it's just that one, but I will double checking it. I should know. But my head is entirely in the primary right now and not yet to the general.
And my other question, I'm curious to know why 16-year-olds would vote in municipal elections, but they wouldn't be eligible to vote in other elections.
Oh, so why that particular
What's the rationale? Yeah.
It's based on the fact that, and actually it's, so as you know, the way we run elections here is we now have the combined regular local election in November that has all the nonpartisan races, right? So there's municipal, there's school board. Well, it was modeled after, there are a few other jurisdictions in the country that allow their 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in school board elections. Well, we don't separate those out here, right? We used to, and we don't now. And so, it doesn't have to look like that is the thing. It could be everything. In fact, when SB 8, before it finally stalled out, the way the bill looked based on how the Rules Committee amended it was to allow, well, not 16-year-olds, but we're going to let 17-year-olds vote in everything. And the rationale behind that is we already let 17-year-olds who are going to be 18 by the time of the next general election vote in a primary, right? Which is great because they are going to need to have that say. But why don't we just back it all the way back to the regular local election too? What's the rationale? This is exactly the kind of discussion we need to have. Well, shouldn't they just be able to vote in everything? Why not? Why would that be good? Why would that be bad? Why just a starter election, so to speak? Why just school board, so to speak, right? The rationale behind school board is kids are in school all day long, every day. A school board has a direct impact on their daily lives, but we could argue that for just about anything. So I know I'm open to that discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
I do want to add, first of all, we did have a race that triggered an automatic recount in Sandoval County, and that was for, there she is, our district attorney, number one. And number two, I want to add that it is so important that everybody get out and vote in the primary because we have several races, not just because of this, you should vote anyway, but we have several races that are uncontested. And one of them, Ann Maxwell Chavez, uncontested in the primary. We also have contested primaries that aren't going to be contested in the fall.
That's exactly it.
And that's really, really important. One of them is for probate judge. Another one is for magistrate judge for District 2. So if you need information about those candidates, you can go find out who they are from our website under our voter information, and then you can go to their websites and look them up and find out about them. But you guys have probably met them all at our events.
That's good. Well, and that's a perfect example of the primary as the general, right? You have a contested primary, but not a contested general. That is why I personally believe it's so important to let everybody vote that wants to, right? In the primary, for that exact reason. Yeah. I know not everybody agrees with me on that, but I think we're getting there. So I really appreciate you all. It's always just a joy and a pleasure to come meet with Sandoval County, whether it's here or at the range. Kathy and I had an awesome event a month or so ago, and out of Placitas, you guys all turned out for that, and we raised a good deal of money too, which was nice. Yeah. And so I just want you to know how much I appreciate you all. I'm kicking off, with this meeting. I'm gonna get in my car, go grab my bag, and I'm heading down to TRC tonight and Silver City tomorrow. So I have a weekend on the road, and to be able to start it this way is just such a pleasure. And I really want you all to know how much I appreciate you. You're on the front lines of the Democratic Party. You're on the front lines of our democracy, literally right now. The work that you do, the advocacy that you do, making sure that we are following the law, electing good candidates. We didn't get Barbara this last time. Maybe we'll get her again in the future. So running fantastic candidates. It's just, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse. It's just such a pleasure to be with this group because of all you do. And it inspires me. So thank you.
Thank you. Drive carefully with precious time.
Don't worry. I ski a little bit, but not too much.
Secretary of State Maggie Toulouse Oliver. I can just leave this. I don't need to be like Oprah, right? Walking around anymore. So, let's see. What do I have up next? First of all, I want to acknowledge Precinct 99. Thank you for turning out this morning. Yay. Precinct 99, I believe you are in Kathleen Cates' district. Yay, Kathleen Cates, right? Let's see, early voting is going on now, right? And so the 21st, you'll be able to go to some of the early voting sites in the community, but right now you can go to 1500 Adalia Road, Bernalillo, which is in Rio Rancho, at 528 Adalia. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. And I went in and voted yesterday. It took me less than 5 minutes. There was no waiting. There were people just ready to wait on me to help me get through the process. And, they have the line set up, and it was like, they said they're getting about 60 people a day. There was no one else voting when I was there. No one. So go vote early, right? It's important. Let's see, what else do I want to say? I want to say thank you to Clerk Ann Brady Romero for attending, to District Attorney Barbara Romo, Commissioner Catherine Buck, who is the Senator Chavez, thank you so much for coming to our event this morning, and hope to see you again. We hope you become a regular attendee. I understand you now live in Sandoval County. So, yay. We want more Democrats in Sandoval County. Let's move them all up here. So, next up is Kathy Brook, Commissioner Kathy Brook, and she's going to speak to us for a minute about Laura Montoya.
Okay, well, you all know that I've known Laura since before she ran for our treasurer. And I was always so impressed with her knowledge, experience, and how she performed for us here in Sandoval County. It was amazing. Today, I want to just mention that I think it's important that we want to elect someone who knows the job, who understands the complexity, and who has government experience at all levels, which she does. And she has served on a national stage with the National Association of the Counties. So across the country, people recognize her as someone who understands what it takes to be a great treasurer. I want you to also remember that this little card here is my cheat sheet, that she managed to get the support of almost every county treasurer in this state. So when you have other treasurers saying, this woman can do the job, then that's good enough for me. And I think that's so important. Some of the key things that she has on this card is about predatory lending, which you know she's been on the front line, working at the legislature on that for some years, supporting financial literacy, making sure that that is something that our students understand how to protect themselves from those predatory lending practices, among others. And then because we were such a big county and handled so much money, she was very involved not only on the investment side, but also obviously on the collection side. And we had an amazing collection of our taxes and have been able to do more and more in this county because of those results. The last thing I'd say is she's union strong. There are a lot of endorsements. And this is not the stuff that happened because she's running for election. You all know that during COVID, she was on the front line collecting supplies and taking all kinds of things, working with the tribes across our county to provide for all of our Pueblo folks and in the nation. And this is the kind of person that we want in that office, someone who cares about us. Thanks.
Here's another fun fact. She has been very busy, not just campaigning, but she's also helping to find housing for people who have been displaced because of the fires, helping to get semi-trucks full of water with pallets and pallets full of water up to where it's needed up in the Las Vegas area. So she has been working hard. She's been working very hard on behalf of many people in our state. So just an FYI there. Fun fact. Facts are good. Next up is our very own Kathleen Cates, who is running for House District 44. Kathleen.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Kathleen Cates. I'm running for the House Representatives District 44, which now includes all of Corrales, parts of Rio Rancho, and northern part of Albuquerque. I have a website. You have my card. I have house parties happening every month, and so please reach out to me if you want an invite. I need volunteers and I need money, but I want to take this meeting to actually kind of update you on some things that have been happening around in our area, and also thank Ann and Maggie again. I mean, this is a big deal, voter access and availability. And Ann, you have the patience of a saint. You are so impressive in that commission meeting. So I have been going to the village council meetings, the county commissioner meetings, and as well as Rio Rancho city council meetings, trying to stay update on things that are happening. I just want to let you know part of the reason for our sparse crowd is not just the Planned Parenthood demonstration, but we have Harvest Fest in Corrales. We have an inclusive play in the park above where the Elevate the Spectrum is going on. So people with different disabilities and abilities are able to be there. I want to make sure that you guys know about your community so that you can help support them as well. I want to let you know that Kathy and I went, and your Senator Brenda McKenna went to the new groundbreaking for the Federal Emergency Building over by Adalia. This is going to help our sheriffs and our and our law enforcement and be able to increase our training. We want to be able to know that. Who is terrified about our attack on women's reproductive rights? I am terrified. My treasurer and I were at the federal courthouse, the demonstration last week. I am endorsed by Planned Parenthood. This is a very, very important issue of mine. I just submitted my questionnaire for the Rio Rancho Observer, and I'm letting them know. So I would like to let people know that I know that this is a deeply personal and private issue that we have to stand straight and speak of it as often as possible. We have to stand, and we talk about trying to get young people engaged. Let them know you are fighting for reproductive rights. You are not going to have women be forced into parenthood by the government, and that you are willing to fight that. And I am telling you, young people who were not engaged might become engaged. I want to let everybody thank you for your support. I've been out there knocking doors and making phone calls. I've got a sign-up sheet that's going around. If you want to sign, if you would like to canvass with me, it's a lot of fun. I'm learning a lot of things. I get to meet a lot of great people. And phone bank, let me know. We're also doing cool things with Kathleen, which are 1 to 3 minute videos that I've been putting out on social media. So neighbor to neighbor, you can get to know what's in your neighborhood, different locally owned businesses, nonprofits, and public spaces. And so I'm now knocking on doors, and people are like, oh, I recognize you from the video. So please get out there and share those too. As Ramon said earlier, we have to be listeners. I know that we may not always, even in this room, all agree on everything, but we have to find those shared values that we can connect so that we can make sure that we're fighting for voter accessibility and women's reproductive rights. Thank you very much.
Great. Kathleen Cates for HD 44. Planned Parenthood endorsed. We love Planned Parenthood. Next up, and I'm helping her get her exercise today, get her steps in, is Commissioner Brooke for herself. As she walks up here, check out the little sign.
Told you it was nice. That's beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, mine's kind of Denver colors, but anyway. And you know, when you many of the women candidates, some in this room went through something called Emerge, and they always say signs don't vote. So I just want to commend Kathleen, because we do have to reach our voters in every possible way. Some of us will get some signs out when people say, yeah, I want a sign, let's get it out there. I personally do like a big sign or banner that's on a main street, because people have to go by it like a million times, and then they remember your name, even if they have no idea who you are. We do have to remember that a lot of our voters are kind of low, they have low information, obviously. So the more you can share personally about each of us, I really value that. So most of you know me. If you have any questions, please come meet me or ask me questions. Sandoval County Commission District 1. Clearly, District 1 is new and different. And so I'm very, very happy to be reaching into a new part of Rio Rancho, and obviously the village of Corrales. And so anybody who would like to get to know me a little better, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm so thrilled that we're here today. Kind of wish I was at in March. Well, we do have an event coming up, and I think our chair is going to tell you all about it at
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
I have a bunch of
couple of announcements.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Captain Bruck. Thank you,
Excellent.
Maybe not. I got it.
We're good. This is good enough, right? Y'all can hear me?
Yes.
How about our new sound system?
I love it.
Isn't it great? I want to give a special thanks to our AV team, the Dabs, Stephen and Deb, right? Deb is also our web goddess, but Stephen is our audio god, right? Yes. Excellent. I also have a couple announcements that are going to be very, very important for you. The first one, I want to tell you that yesterday was Jan Marfiak's birthday. So happy birthday, Jan! We wish you health, happiness, and many more birthdays to come. Thank you very much. I want to make sure that you all understand that the party is volunteer run and that we need more volunteers. We're always looking for precinct chairs, right, Isaac? He always tells me to say that. But it's true, we need precinct chairs, we need board chairs, we need people to poll watch, we need people to volunteer to canvass, to phone bank. And it looks different than it used to. It used to be that you had to go to this place and you had to do it in this building with a bunch of other people. But guess what? You can do it from home now. And we're going to keep a lot of that going to make it easier for people to participate. So, announcements. The Greg Bennett fundraiser has moved its location to his house, and that's at 2708 Lerma Road in Rio Rancho. It's on May 22nd from 2 to 4. Please join us. Greg's still looking for hosts and sponsors for his event, so let me know, Alex, or actually chair@sandovaldemocrats.org if you can help Greg out. This is going to be really important. Greg is running for County Commission District 3 seat. Commissioner Brooke needs help. We need to get this seat. It's really, really important. And Greg is a fascinating guy, so come learn more about him. Let's see. The weather is great for outdoor events. Keep an eye out for other events to support Greg, Ramona, and all of our other candidates, Kathleen, Kathy Brugg. They need your help, they need your donations, they need your time, they need your shoe leather. There is an event this Wednesday, May 18th from 5 to 7 at the Pongal Event Center. You must RSVP at corralisindivisible@gmail.com. Our Lieutenant Governor is going to be there. Don't we love our Lieutenant Governor? He's going to be there. He's amazing. Holly Morales will be there. And so will our Madam Land Commissioner, Stephanie Garcia Richard. So it'd be great to go. It's mostly a social event. They're also going to have people from the ACLU and Planned Parenthood to talk about women's rights. It's going to be great. Please, please go. First Friday will take place at the Range in Bernalillo on Friday, June 3rd at 11 a.m. Visit our website's event section for more information regarding all events, sandovaldemocrats.org, and go to our event calendar. You can sign up for the newsletter at our website at the same place, and you can, find out what's going on within the party. Like us on social media, share our posts. Any other? Yes?
I'm sorry. One thing is there's a Planned Parenthood fundraiser in Corrales at 2 o'clock on May 21st. And you all know where people were taking donations for the fires, so go ahead and drop them off. But I've been collecting them for the last week and next week. And I will tell you what I've heard that they need is diapers. Diapers, so if you're going to Costco or someplace like that, if you understand that is always very much a needed thing. And so, and pet food, large animals and small animals. Thanks.
I heard they were housing some of the livestock at Expo New Mexico, so they're going to need all the help they can get. Any other announcements?
Do you want to mention who's going to be at second Saturday next month? Or do you want me to?
I think you.
Okay. Next month at second Saturday, we're going to have Sally Davis, and she's going to give a presentation on messaging. And I heard her presentation at the Invisible Conference is very, very good, so I encourage you to come back.
Okay. Yes, come. It's going to be great. I couldn't remember her last name, to tell you the truth. I remembered Sally, but that was like. So, anything else? Yes, Anne. Please.
Hello, everybody. Most of you know me. I'm proud to say that I've been your Sandoval County Magistrate Judge for Division 1 for the last 3 years and 5 months. Thanks to all of you who supported me, believed in me, voted for me, but I'm going to make it short. Luckily that I did tell my husband, and I promised that I was going to work hard for my community do a good job, and I was telling my husband that he's got to pray that nobody will want to run against me. Well, thank you, Lord. His prayers were answered, and I don't have any opposition in the primary or the general, but I still, so yeah, that's one of the things. I'm very lucky because those of you that have ran and are running know how hard it is. So I'm very, very lucky. We can't do it without you, so continue to support us. I'm still on the ballot, so please vote for me. I do need one vote, and I think I got that. Somebody did tell me they voted for me. Perfect, so thank you. I need at least one to get in, so I think I'm good. But we'll continue to work hard. I do want to just say that I'm so proud and lucky to have with me, like everybody's acknowledged, my Uncle Dennis. He was New Mexico State Senator for 8 years, from 1985 to 1993. He's been Sandoval County, he's Bernalillo County, but he's soon going to be back to Sandoval County for the general election. So he has been one of my biggest supporters, and I really appreciate it. I think I've followed in his footsteps and some of others, and but thanks to my husband. But for the primary, when I ran, he was with me all day long, holding signs. So I'm very lucky to have him. So I want to make sure I appreciate the people that did acknowledge him. If you know him, make sure you come say hi to him. We're unfortunate that we don't have my husband's father anymore, which is his brother, but he's the oldest, and we're so lucky to have him. So thank you all.
Is there anything else?
Can I speak for one more?
Please, yes.
Here's another candidate that's not here. And because I've been on the commission now for several years with Ken Eichwald, I just wanted to remind everyone that that race is important to me personally. And I have this hidden strategy, you know, that if you get elected, then we have this other opportunity, because guess who gets to pick who goes in that spot? Our lovely governor. And so, you know, I'm all, you know, my little brain is kind of working overtime on how beneficial that might be to the 51% in this room. Thanks.
Wonderful. Anything else? Then we are adjourned. See you at First Friday. See you at Pongal. See you at the Planned Parenthood fundraiser. Check out our event calendar. And thanks to all of you for coming.
If you want to go to here's the fundraiser, keep in touch because they're not announcing where it's at until the last minute. Because they don't want to. 505 235 235